Hello there. Today I'm going to review one of several new swords that I've taken delivery of in the last few weeks. It's a strange one. I didn't order it. It just appeared on Facebook. It was available to buy. It was cheap, or relatively cheap. I think it was around €200. I'll put the details. Oh, I just gave you a little hint of what it was. Then you didn't see that. I'll just hide it down. I'll put the details, the spec, the price, the link and stuff in the description as usual. But this particular sword anyway, I bought it because it's short and it looks kind of cool. Once you've had a selection of swords for a while, strange anomalies in the kind of the sword world that pop up, you kind of catch your eye and you have to buy them. So anyway, this one, it's made by Silk. Is it Silk Team or Silkfencing? I think they call them Silk. Maybe it's Silk Team Fencing. I'll put the details in the description. They posted it up, and I think it was designed for some kind of competition. I don't know if it was a dussack or a sabre contest they were doing, and it was made to a particular specification. But it is tiny anyway. If I have a look, if I get my Black Fencer, so I got my Black Fencer 1803 here. And then if I put it next to it, you can see it's a baby. It's like an arming sword almost compared to a long sword. It's a tiny little sword. Now, in terms of construction, it actually... Okay, that's the third video I've recorded today where something tries to interfere. I had an iPad on the floor, had a buckler just tipped over, a sword fell off the chair that I've got in front of me. Everything's out today to try and get me. Anyway, let's go back to the sword. The construction is actually very similar to a Maya rapier. If you look at it here, you've got quite a simple grip. It's actually a relatively lightweight pommel. I think that should be heavier. But anyway, quite a lightweight pommel, nice sturdy knuckle bow. Stronger than most. Also a sturdy D-ring. And then a blade that if it was straight, I'd argue that you've actually got quite a nice Maya rapier there. But it's not anyway, it's slightly curved. The blade, let's have a look. It's got a single fuller that runs the entire length. It's not particularly deep fuller, yeah, it's quite a shallow fuller. Runs almost to the tip. So I don't think it takes a huge amount of metal out of the blade. And then the blade itself, you've got a relatively thick back edge down to about here. And then it tapers off. You start to get a bit of distal taper, but it's not much, to be honest. It kind of drops a tiny amount, and you think, oh, it's going to get really thin, and it never actually does. So it ends up with a weapon that doesn't have much flex. So, do it again. I'd actually say it's borderline reenactment flex. Now I would expect for HEMA for it to be stiff to about here, medium stiffness here, and then this section here I'd expect a really nice bend. But basically the bend point is actually where the distal taper starts, right here, right in the middle of the blade. Yeah, right here. Anyway, so it's a little bit of an oddity. I'm not quite sure what they would call it if they were going to sell it as a standard product. I'd say you're looking at something that is like a short, slightly curved hanger. It would function perfectly well as a cutlass. You can use it as a dussack. Or you can use it as something like an artilleryman's sabre, or even a sword bayonet. It's that short. I have to check with Nick on the sword bayonet that he's got, but I can't imagine there's that much difference between them. So it's short, great for fighting indoors, and if you like short dussacky type weapons, good fun. But as a general saber, not massively happy with that flex. It feels it actually moves quite nicely in the hand. Yeah, it doesn't really want to thrust too much, but it's quite a cutty saber. I'm back to sparring next week, so I'm going to be able to put it properly to the test. rather than just pretending to hit people. But yeah, it is small, not super flexible, nicely made, good hand protection. I'm looking at it, the tip actually has a slightly strange bend on the curve. I think it sort of curves normally, and then when you get to this point here, I don't know whether you can see, it's almost like it bends. It's like it sort of, there's something grab it, bend it down a little bit. But that could just be just because it's a handmade sword. That's just the way it ended up. But anyway, by Silk Team, Silkfencing, whatever they call themselves. Nicely made, cheap. I'm sure they can make more of them, and I'll let you know more once I've been able to spar with it. You can never give these things kind of a fair review until you've sparred with them. Like the Albion, it's a really useful pointing device, so you always need one of those. If you look at these two, those are the Kabedan Maya Rapiers, and my first impression when I picked them up, when I took them out of the box, was that these feel quite meaty. They don't feel like they would be particularly quick. I was sort of, they're nicely made, but I wasn't 100% on what they would actually be like as an actual weapon. But then I used them for sparring, and they are really, really good. They basically fit the role of a perfect 50-50 cut and thrust sword. I know this review isn't about the Kabedan rapier, but it's just something to consider, is that first impressions compared to sparring are often very different. And I suspect from holding this again, basically I haven't actually held this since I took it out of the box and kind of gave myself the first impressions. I actually think this is going to be quite fast. It feels relatively light in the hand. I think this is going to be the kind of sword I actually really like. I like getting in close with these type of weapons anyway. I like to go for more of a dussack, messer style fight than standing off and moulinetting forever and a day. I like to kind of mix it up a bit and maybe kick a few people and then hit them with the sword. And I think this will actually match my style quite nicely. But we'll see anyway. And it looks nice. I think they've done a good job. As I said, the only thing I wasn't super happy with was that flex. But again, let's put it to the test with sparring, see how it works, and I'll come back and I'll do a follow-up review and let you know what I actually thought. But there you go, silk fencing, short saber dussack thing.